Well, when you think of some of the stories that I've just told you, and when you think of some of the work that you do in the community and some of the people that you're connected to and the ways that you show the love of God in your own life, this is what Jesus meant when he said, you are salt and you are light. So he didn't say, I want you to try really hard and I want you to be salt. And they go, I'm trying, Lord, but I just can't get there. I've got the sodium, but I don't have the chloride. I just have the chloride, but not the sodium. The interesting thing about salt actually is both of those elements are unstable until they're together. And then once they get together, they stabilize as a compound. And so when Jesus tells you that you are salt, if you've ever felt like you're an unstable person, when you come together in community, Christian community, there's something stabilizing about that. And what we provide to the community around us is additional stability. So you think of the mom we're helping with the car, or you think about working with the kids at Dwyer, or there was someone at First Service who had a relative who was murdered, and they were just so grieving. They said, I didn't think I could come to church today. But I was sitting there, and I said, nope, I'm not going to go. And a voice said, get up and go. They go, I've just been grieving by myself. I've been so depressed. And it was a terrible murder in another country. But this is what it means to be a stabilizing presence, salt. And then if you think of light, like light is the possibility of photons coming off and illuminating. And you hear that in Isaiah, when Isaiah is talking about the fast, which we'll talk about in a minute. Isaiah is talking about fasting, but Isaiah says, when it's done with God as the proper end, then it's going to be like the light dawning, and the light will be healing. We know that sunlight has a therapeutic effect. Sometimes you just need to be out. Like my wife, this is actually a true story. This just happened on Friday. My wife and I were walking at the beach because we said, we got to get our steps in, And I go, actually, I probably need a little bit of vitamin D. Pete, you would have been horrified. I took my shirt off and I was walking on the beach and a police car is coming toward us. And it's Sergeant Munoz. And I work with Sergeant Munoz in the chaplains program. And I look in the car, I go, good morning. And I had on like a big straw hat and he goes, oh my gosh, he said, put your shirt on. He said, you got to put your shirt. This is a public safety issue. I go, I know. I just needed a little bit of vitamin D. I get it. And then I go, have you met my wife? He goes, no, I haven't met your wife. And he just goes, I'm so sorry. I go, she sees this all the time. Anyhow, but it's the idea that light is necessary, right? It's vitamin D. It goes into your skin. Your body turns it into calcium. This is like an important part of how we keep our bones healthy with our vitamin D. And so light has the possibility of healing and strengthening. And if you think of Jesus saying, you are salt, you are light, both of these are gifts that we can provide as the Christian community, stability and healing. And we do that through not ourselves, but what Amy read from Paul in Corinthians, not the spirit of the world, but with the spirit that Jesus has given us. He doesn't say, well, if only you were salt and light, maybe we'd be able to get something done here. He says, you are salt, you are light. There's a great letter you can read if you like reading old Christian mail. This is from 18 centuries ago when they were writing in a Greek and Roman context. And someone's writing to someone who's thinking about becoming Christian, and he says, the Christians are to the world as the soul is to the body. Meaning the spirit that Christ has given the church to share in the world gives us the possibility for fullness of life. Not cutting people off, not diminishing, not somehow just writing them off, but this broader invitation to prosperity. And I was just saying the prayer at the city council meeting this week, and that's always a prayer I pray, that through the governance of our city and the participation of our people, we might become a more prosperous place, so that people can have fullness of life. Because it can be really hard to live here. Some of the families that we know, we talk to them, it can be really hard to live here. And so we want it to be a place where life can thrive. Now, what we see in the prophet Isaiah today is there's another additional element to this. And it's the idea that sometimes our life needs to catch up to the truth of what God's done. So that's why even when I tell you you're salt and you're light, if you don't feel that way, well, now you know how the people in Isaiah felt, because God brought them back from exile. The time in Babylon's over. No more having to speak Babylonian, no more having to wear Babylonian clothes, eat Babylonian food, follow Babylonian customs. I mean, literally, the time they were in Babylon, it would be like if World War II had ended a different way and we'd been sent back, but now we get to come back. And you're looking at your old homes, and you're looking at, it was your great-grandparents, and you're looking at your old businesses, and there are people who have moved in. And it's not a great situation. And the people themselves have returned home, but they don't really feel like they're home. It's the same thing like when the people come back from slavery or get out of slavery in Egypt, and God goes, the experience of slavery is over, but it's not really over. Because people have the mentality, both of the master and the slave. And so it kind of perpetuates moving forward. And so how is it that we can catch up to what God has done and be those people? So these people go, well, we're doing all the religious stuff you told us to do. We're worshiping you, and we're trying to be a righteous nation, and we're fasting. And God's like, okay, you guys, it's like God, one of these parenting moments where God goes, are you fasting? Yes. Did I tell you to fast? Yes. Are you doing what I really wanted you to do? No. This is not what I want you to do. And they're like, what? What? You're creating space in yourself, but rather than fasting becoming an opportunity to be this stabilizing compound, this healing light, you're fasting, you're just hangry. You're hungry, you're angry, you're mean to each other. You're actually worse. By fasting, you're worse. But you're taking this time, and now you're thinking of all the different things you can do, all the things you want to take, all the things that are properly yours. That's not what this is about. This spiritual exercise needs to be pushed toward a broader picture that if you're going to love God, you have to love your neighbors. This is the total, when Jesus says, if you want to know what it's all about, loving God and loving neighbor, and when Jesus said, I did not come to abolish the law to fulfill it, but to fulfill it, that's what he meant. I fulfill it by loving and by living in such a way that you are blessed by my life. You too have that stabilizing gift. There's this compound of community that gets created. You too have this healing light whereby you can have old wounds restored and catch up to the moment. It was actually funny because I told people, how many of you are actually in the moment right now? How many of you are not here right now? Maybe you're thinking about something else. You're going, well, I have to get the nacho bar ready for the Super Bowl party. And your mind. So it's actually funny, we had a young couple that I had married a couple years ago, and they were sitting right where the Bruners are sitting right now. And I said, I just want to acknowledge them because every time there's a couple that I've done the wedding for, I say a special prayer for their marriage and for their life together, that God might bless it and renew it and so on. And the wife goes, thank you. And then the husband just goes, and she came out and she goes, he wasn't with us. Remember how you said that he should be with us? He was not with us. He's like, I'm with us now. I go, that's because you're leaving. Now you're ready for the day. But the whole point of that is what God's trying to do is calibrate you to the present moment, now. And it's easy to be stuck in a future that doesn't exist. It's easy to be stuck in a past that did exist but does no longer. And it's hard to be in this present moment where it's like, what does it mean to be salt now? What does it mean to be light now? And to do it in context with our neighbors. That's what Isaiah said. If you want to do a fast, when you create space in your own life, when you start retreating from claiming everything and fulfilling all your appetites, then you'll start feeding people, you'll start watering people, you'll start giving the homeless people homes, you'll give all of the people who are oppressed, you will break their yokes. You will realize that if we were made to be salt and we were made to be light, so is everybody else. And they were meant to have the same spirit as us. They should have the same dignity as us. They should have access to the same freedom as a universal human identifier. And this becomes the necessary part, that they are not done with the exile yet until they themselves become the living witness of covenant. And this is one of the reasons in all the Old Testament sacrifices, when the temple was operational, they would mix salt with the sacrifice. And salt was a sign of the continuation and the steadfastness of what God was doing with his people. And so the stability represents a stability between heaven and earth, and a growing stability in our social relationships with each other, friends and enemies alike. I'll just give you a story from the Cursillo training yesterday. We were in before the sort of Japanese Stars of Yesterday concert, and before the Rotary did their wine tasting, which I'm glad that some of you were here drinking and support of a good cause. It's always good if you can say I'm drinking for a good cause, Otherwise, I try and tell people that, but when I'm by myself, they don't believe it. But before that, we were at Cursillo training because we're getting ready for those retreats, and we were talking to one of the guys. We were having a little group conversation, and we were talking about what does it mean to have a Christian environment and to be in a place where Christian things can happen. And we said, if you're going to come to a retreat and you have a mountaintop experience, and you say, wow, I had a great time, and then you go home. Well, no one else had that experience but you. And what you realize is you can be easily sort of disappointed because you go, oh, my life hasn't changed. Well, yeah, why did you think the whole world was going to change? The gift of these retreats is you change. And when you bring a different version of yourself into familiar places, whether it's in your home, whether it's at work, at the pickleball court, at the senior center, wherever it is you're going to go, when you bring that version of yourself that is what Jesus said you are, salt and light, that changes the environment because you're changed. Isaiah, the environment changed. You're not in Babylon anymore. You're back in Jerusalem. And they go, well, why isn't it working? Because you're not free yet. You're still living like you're in exile. And now you've been claimed and given a spirit so that you yourself can be changed. And by your transformation, the world around you will be affected for the good. And so may God bless you to be who you were made to be by the Holy Spirit, to be someone that offers stability in an unstable world, as someone who offers healing and light in a world of a wounding darkness. And may that be a witness to the Father in heaven, who by our good works we glorify. Amen.